Welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us here today. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. Beautiful day outside. Man, wish we could just be out there on a deck someplace, Vince, but we're stuck inside right now.
This is the kind of weather that gets me excited for baseball season, all those things, even though the Cubs dropped 2 out of 3 to the Nationals, but whatever. So, yeah, I mean, this is, there's a reason I said something to you the other day about something that has to do with baseball. And, I want to get outside. I want to do this thing, take this thing on the road.
I haven't even looked at the forecast. Is it supposed to be this nice all week? Any idea?
It's going to rain. Temperature-wise, I think it's going to be fairly nice, but I think we're going to get a lot of precipitation over the next few days.
All right. Big basketball weekend. I want to start with a little football news, though, today. Notre Dame related. Vince and I are not recruiting guys. We say that all the time. But Notre Dame picked up a commitment from running back Isaiah Rodgers today. 5'11", 215 pounds, a 4-star guy from Springfield, Massachusetts, as they continue to do pretty well. I think this is the second running back they've got in the 2027 class now, Vince, that is committed to the Fighting Irish of Marcus Freeman.
Well, and I never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I was happy that Notre Dame beat out IU for a commitment. So there's that.
Crazy days, huh? Crazy days.
Yeah, they beat out IU, Penn State, and Georgia. That was the Final Four for him, and he picked Notre Dame. So obviously very exciting, and I believe, he wasn't planning on making a decision for a while, but then I think he made a visit here, and, everything just fell into place. So, that's it's great. It's great for Notre Dame. They're
absolutely
line-driven program, Sean. This is how you do it.
Line-driven, and I mean, I think it probably helps when you got a guy like Jeremiah Love out there being talked about as a first-round draft pick as well. Not to mention Jadarian Price, who might just go in the second round. I think it does your program pretty well when you're talking about running backs. So,
absolutely.
Big basketball weekend. We're going to talk Notre Dame women's basketball here in a minute. We've got some comments from both head coach Niele Ivey and point guard Hannah Hidalgo, as well as Darth Vader, Geno Auriemma from the other side. Actually did have some very nice things to say about Hannah Hidalgo.
He did.
So we'll hear that in a little bit as well. But I've got to ask you, I didn't get to see this live, but literally as soon as the plane touched ground from Fort Worth on the flight from Fort Worth to South Bend, the buzz was in the plane and everyone pulled out their phones, and the video of Braylon Mullins with the shot for UConn to beat Duke yesterday. Which shot is better? The shot that Mullins hit last night or the 1992 classic shot, Christian Laettner with the three-quarter court pass from Grant Hill to hit that shot from the free throw line to beat Kentucky?
I think it was the one last night, to be perfectly honest, because, look, Duke had possession of the ball in 1992. They just had to execute the play. This time, all Duke had to do was hold on to the ball. I mean, there was less than 10 seconds. If he just covers the ball and just stands there, they win the game.
He fouled, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, but I mean, they're up by 2. You don't have to make that pass. I understand why he did. The guy he was passing it to was wide open. But he was like triple covered. So
I think you're all prisoners of the moment. Everyone is a prisoner of the moment. There was still some great execution that, like, just to complete that pass.
Sure, I agree.
And I'm not a Duke fan. Like, we know
this.
Oh,
no, I am not a Duke fan either.
Not a Duke fan. But to complete that pass and then Laettner catches it, he dribbles, he pivots, and in the same motion turns and hits it smooth, man. It was nothing but net. And
I get it.
There was a high level of execution. I get what you're saying. Like, if you take into account maybe the whole play and the fact that everything had to go right for UConn, at the end of the day, it was just a long jump shot. Really.
That's a logo jump shot. It ain't easy.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark can do it. He should be able to do it.
Well, the one that Laettner hit was a free throw then.
Okay. Pivoting free throw with a defender in his face. This guy had no defender in his face last night.
That's true. That is true. Duke didn't. They just stood there. They didn't even know what to do because
a great shot. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but I thought it was worth talking about.
I think it's funny. I think it's great.
I mean, it now becomes one of the great.
It does.
Especially if UConn goes on to win everything, it's going to be UConn lore. And the kid from Indiana getting his team back to Indianapolis, where the Final Four is this year as well. So
good point.
Pretty
good point.
I mean, it was a great shot. There's no doubt about it. But
it's amazing how one shot is supposed to quiet all of the doubters that say the tournament isn't what it used to be. And then that you got one buzzer beater over a number 1 seed, and all of a sudden it's, the tournament's amazing. Everything about it is amazing. Even though like Michigan just blew out,
Michigan annihilated Tennessee by like what, 30 points or something like that.
Right. Yeah, the most exciting thing that happened from that game was the coach's son hitting a 3 at the end. You know what I mean? Like, so but one play, one shot, one game just totally rectifies all that is March Madness.
Absolutely. Great one. And all the men now are into the Final Four, and that'll be coming up this weekend in Indianapolis. And the women's Final Four is in Phoenix. They still have that one more game to play.
Yes.
Tonight. And that is TCU and is it UCLA? No, South Carolina. TCU, South Carolina. Right. I was supposed to know this. And then yes, it's TCU, South Carolina. That doesn't come till 9:00 tonight.
Because there's 2 games tonight, correct? Or is it just one?
Oh, that's right. There are. See, it's like my days are totally messed up.
I bet.
It started with the fact that Notre Dame played last Monday in Columbus, and then we bust home, and then like less than 36 hours later, we got a flight for Fort Worth. You're right. There are 2 games tonight still. Because it is it's the Elite 8. So you've got TCU, South Carolina is the late game. The earlier game is Texas and Michigan, as those are 2 different regionals, but they're both in Sacramento, just like there were 2 different regionals in Fort Worth. And there were some viral comments from Darth Vader again on that this weekend, Geno Auriemma, and we're going to save those for rapid fire. So we are going to be talking about those comments about the fact that the women have 2 regionals in one location, while the men play their regionals at 4 different spots around the nation. Seems like the men seem to do pretty well going with that format.
Is that what we're going to set the record straight, that you had the complaint before Darth Vader?
Well, it wasn't a complaint. Mine had nothing to do with.
Oh, okay.
He tied a lot of things together. I didn't even like. My thing was just this arena, Dickey's Arena. Mm-hmm. Everyone, I don't know if everyone was talking about the 3-point shooting, but certainly Notre Dame fans were talking about the 1 for 17 against Vanderbilt. But if you added up what everyone shot in the arena in the 2 different regionals for the entire weekend, it was 29 out of 128. That's only 22% from 3-point range. Now, there are a lot of different factors. I do think the backdrop in the arena, like they say, there are shooters' gyms, and there are others gyms that aren't very conducive to shooting. I think that plays into it. Something that Geno mentioned in his comments was the balls are inflated and they bounce to the ceiling. They use brand new basketballs, and they tend to overinflate them and all these different things. But so mine was more just about the fact that it wasn't just Notre Dame that had a bad shooting day. They had the worst of the shooting days in that 1 for 17 against Vanderbilt. But everyone, all 8 teams all weekend, shot poorly from 3-point range in that same building. So,
not good. And it smelled like poop outside. So,
but Notre Dame won that game.
They did.
It got them yesterday. Yeah. And I don't know. Like, were you kind of looking at it? I think a lot of fans were looking at yesterday's game. They obviously end up losing 70-52 to the number 1 overall seed, UConn and Huskies. UConn has now won 53 consecutive games. They're 38-0 this year. Is interesting that their last loss was actually at Purcell Pavilion in December of 2024. That was UConn's last loss. They've won every game since then. But I don't know. Were you just kind of looking at it like they've already achieved what they came here to achieve? Like anything else is.
So in the moment of watching the game, I was diehard, like, you got to do this, you got to do that. I'm cheering for Notre Dame. I'm yelling at the TV, doing all the things. And, just, I want them to win the game. right? Going into the game, trying to take a step back and just because I don't like to do the whole, the season's a success no matter what we do coming in. Like that's what you do once you're out.
Right.
Like then you look back and you're like, okay, let's look at the season. Like to me, did I think it was unfortunate that they're in UConn's regional? Yes, because I think that they could have given literally anybody a game or a lot of people a game. How about that?
UCLA was going to be pretty tough as well.
Okay.
Like that's actually my pick to win the whole thing.
Okay, fair enough. It just stinks that they had UConn in the regional. I would have loved to see them play UConn in the Final Four. Like that would have been great.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, now that we are 24 hours removed from the game, the season is over, obviously all the things, it's like, you know what? This team kind of overachieved a little bit. And I think this is an absolute, success. Like this season is a success, no matter how you slice it. This is a successful season. It shows what you can do when everybody's getting along on the team and, all of the things and the relationships and all that fun stuff. And they just played good basketball when it mattered, when it counted. And it was fun to watch. It was fun to be on the ride with them. And they ran into a friggin' buzzsaw, man. Like that just is what it is. I can tell you this, though, going into the game, I was very, very confident that they were not 27.5-point dogs in this game.
Yes, I think we were all confident about that. That's what really shocked me. But, I guess Vegas sees what Vegas sees, and I'm curious how much, if Vegas lost a lot on that, quite honestly, because that was a massive number, and Notre Dame hung in there, and we knew that it would be an uphill battle going in, and Notre Dame knew that it was probably going to have to play a pretty near perfect game to be able to win that game, like a miracle on ice type of thing, was what was going to be required to win it. They were only down by 7 at halftime.
That's the thing. Like they were there. I mean, they didn't play a terrible game, and they held UConn stars very much in check in the first half, and really through the third quarter. It was the one gal, number 4.
Quinones.
Dang, man. Like, all of a sudden, she decided to have a day.
Yes.
And she just couldn't miss. Like, she could not miss. I think 4 or 5 threes. Like, she could not miss. And when, but that's also the makings of a good team. If your stars struggle, somebody else has to step up. And she did for UConn. I mean, she kept it to a point where Notre Dame wasn't coming back.
Yeah, and that's the thing with UConn is they are so deep, and they have players like Blanca Quinones coming off the bench, and they've got a Kaylee Heckel coming off the bench who transferred from USC last year. I think her number, she was either 8 or 9. I know her, by face, so I'd like the numbers not
right.
But she played for USC last year as well, plays for UConn this year. On and on and on and on. There are like so many different players that they can just keep running at you. Notre Dame did a great job of keeping the 2 stars, AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong, in check, and Quinones comes off the bench. Niele Ivey afterwards discussed the challenge of defending that team.
I mean, that was out of the catch-22. We wanted to really contain Sarah and AZ, make it a really tough night, but we had to make sure no one else was a factor, and it was. Bianca was a big factor, having 20 points, probably 4 for 8 from the 3-point line. She really had a great job. So their supporting cast, I felt like, did a great job, but she was the X factor for them. So we unfortunately let her loose and she got going. But I thought we were, again, really physical, like you mentioned in the first half, containing Sarah and AZ. They still end up with, 3 in double figures, but I thought we were physical. I've always talked about us having toughness, and I felt like we were tough. Just like you said, it was a tough situation, especially in the second half. We struggled to score, but I thought physically we matched them a lot better than we did.
Yeah, I thought so as well. From a physicality standpoint, Vince, we're both like Top Gun Maverick diehards, and to me, it was like Top Gun Maverick. It's like, okay, it's one thing to drop the bombs and you blow up the uranium enrichment plant, and now you're making that steep climb out at 9 Gs or whatever, getting out of that canyon. And now you've got to make the steep climb. Then as soon as you finally make that steep climb, it's like, boom, coffin corner, smoke in the air. They've got surface to air missiles coming at you left and right. And that's basically what it was. Like, you're contending with AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong, and you're fighting the fight, but then boom, here comes Quinones, and it's smoke in the air, and she's dropping a career high 4 3-pointers against you. Like, there's just only so much you can do if you're Notre Dame when you have to just contend with those kind of bodies. And, and that's, look at the body types of the UConn players and look at the body types of most of the Notre Dame players. There was a big difference out there.
There was. And it was like, if you look at the box score, right, UConn had 3 in double figures. You can't allow that third to be in double figures. If you want to beat UConn, you kind of have to, obviously you're trying to keep the 2 stars in check.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they're going to be in double figures. They're going to somewhat get theirs, so to speak. You can't allow a third to get into double figures. And then on the flip side, you can't just have Hannah Hidalgo.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The opposite of that is Notre Dame has to have at least 2 other players who are in double figures. And unfortunately,
right, against Vanderbilt, Cass had 15. Yes, that's exactly what you want. You needed Cass to have 15. You needed, like Vanessa DeJesus to have 10. You needed to have 3 in double figures in order to be in this game. But then at the same time, only have 2 UConn players.
Yeah,
in double
again,
figures.
look at Vandy's scoring. Their 2 best score, their 2 top scorers got their points. Nobody else did. Passat, their big, who shoots all the threes from the wing, 93 3-pointers this season, was 0 from 3-point range. And Notre Dame and Kassan and KK, that combination kept her from even getting the 3-point attempts off. But Notre Dame held them in check, and they weren't able to let anyone else go off. That was a key to go back to Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
The one player scored 41 points. Notre Dame had 5 players score in double figures in that game. Hidalgo, again, had a big game, but they had 4 other players score in double figures. And Notre Dame needed at least 2 others yesterday to have healthy games, and unfortunately, they just weren't able to get that. And that was – the third quarter was really so frustrating to call and sit there and, watch, because – UConn missed. It was either 11 or 12 straight shots at one point, but Notre Dame was never able to make up any real ground because offensively they just weren't able to find a solution at the other end. Back to the point of what we're talking about, because Hidalgo was just swarmed and no one else was able to make him pay ultimately.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Again, you needed a lot of things to fall into place, and you needed a lot of things to happen. And look, I'm not. It's not like Notre Dame didn't fight, and it's not like Notre Dame quit or any of those kinds of things, because they were in the game. I mean, they were there. It was a 7-point game at halftime, and you're thinking to yourself at halftime, okay. I mean, I wasn't happy because I had a parlay where Notre Dame and everybody was scoring points, and it was a very low-scoring first half.
I told you.
I told you. Good.
I told you to watch that.
But at the same time, it was like, okay, well, it's a 7-point game, but that 7 points – to a degree felt like more than 7 because it was a low scoring game. Does that make sense? Like that was a difficult part of it. And then that fourth quarter just kind of got away from Notre Dame just a little bit. I mean, again, it was the depth of the bench that UConn had and the lack of depth that Notre Dame had. I mean, that started to pay dividends for UConn in the fourth quarter. But again, it wasn't 27.5. Like, it wasn't even close to that. I think what did it end up being? 17, I think, was the final. 18. Yeah. So like, and that was only just because of the very end. You know what I mean? So like, Notre Dame battled. They did everything that they could. They were just UConn's a buzzsaw, man. They're undefeated for a reason.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer this now because a lot of people are asking the question. Decaf18 in the YouTube chat is asking, Prosper and KK coming back next season. KK Bransford said after yesterday's game that she does plan on coming back to Notre Dame for another year. Kassan Prosper said that she has made her decision, but she's not ready to announce it yet. Like,
I didn't realize she had a decision to make. I thought she was four and out because she played all 4 years or not.
No, she's had an injury. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, she had an injury a couple years ago, so she's got another year available. But
okay,
so when that decision comes is obviously going to be up to her. It sounded like within a week or two, probably we'd hear something. I doubt it'll be very long because
the WNBA draft is
she declares that's going to be coming up very soon.
Yeah, I always remember it's like right after the tournament's over. Like there's
Yeah.
not a whole lot of time to waste on that one.
Yeah. So yeah, KK Bransford said she's coming back. Kasan Prosper still yet to announce whether or not she's what her decision is going to be. So
Would definitely add to the depth of next year's team if they both come back for sure.
yes,
That'd be great.
Joe is asking about Hannah. I tell you what, we're at the point where we might as well just go ahead and take us a break.
Okay.
I've got the Geno Auriemma comments about Hannah Hidalgo. I've got the Niele Ivey stuff. I've got a little bit of Hannah Hidalgo herself as well. We'll just mix it all. We'll just mix it all into that. What do you say?
I dig it. Let's go.
We've got some Notre Dame football talk coming up in the second hour. We've just got all kinds of stuff. It's a Monday and it's practically the end of March. Did you know that today is March 30th when you woke up?
Yes, I did. I'm very in tune with the dates because of school. But
Feels
yeah,
like March 13th to me. But
well, your March has been a little different than
I've
mine.
completely lost 2 weeks of my life, Fitz. I don't know. My head is still spinning right now.
I am absolutely counting the seconds until spring break, so I know exactly what day it is. Let me tell you. You got a new backdrop going on.
Did you notice that? I was wondering if you noticed that.
I did notice that. Look at that.
The background looks different if you're watching on the YouTube right now because we are Sports Radio WSBT back on 96.1 FM. So if you're driving around town right now and you're listening on the old AM 960 AM, well, you can keep listening there if you want, or you can flip over to 96.1 FM. And I know that, depending on what part of town you're in, the coverage sounds different depending on which frequency you're on and all that kind of stuff as well.
Tell you right now, from my end of town where I live, 96.1 is a godsend because I was able to listen to you call the game without static in my car, which was a beautiful thing on Sunday. So big fan of the 96.1 FM.
Excellent. Excuse me. I'm sure everyone else is as well. And we've got South Bend Cubs baseball coming up this week. Perfect time to be back over on 96.1 FM. And on April 25th, there's a little football game that'll be right on these stations as well. Blue Gold game. Vince DiDario, Jesse Stiers, yours truly, Sean Stiers. We'll be calling the Blue Gold game from Notre Dame Stadium, and you'll hear it right here on Sports Radio WSBT, whether it's 960 AM, 96.1 FM, Sirius satellite, yada, all over the place. All different kinds of options to listen, whether you're here locally or around the country. We'll talk more about Notre Dame women ending up in the Elite Eight with their conclusion to the regular season against UConn yesterday, with some more comments from Niele Ivey, Geno Auriemma, and Hannah Hidalgo coming up next on Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. Sean Stiers, Vince D'Addario. We are kind of closing the books on Notre Dame women's basketball after their run to the Elite Eight and yesterday's loss to end the season to the number 1 overall seed in the women's tournament, UConn Huskies. After the game, I always kind of like, especially after these kind of game, like rivalry games, and if there's some kind of connection between the two teams, whenever. I don't always watch the handshake line is what I'm saying. But I watched yesterday just to kind of see, like some of the interactions that were going on. And Geno, I don't know did they show it on TV, like the big hug that Geno gave Hannah?
The lasting hug. It took a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. They were obviously talking back and forth. Well, Geno was asked about Hannah Hidalgo in his post-game press conference as well. You may have seen this on social media, but here is what the UConn head coach had to say about Hannah Hidalgo.
You mentioned Hannah, I'm presuming, as one of the best point guards in the country, in your view.
Not one of the best. I think she is the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does a player with that grit for all 40 minutes do for the game of women's basketball?
For people that are not familiar with South Jersey, that's just Philadelphia East, right? So she's got a little bit of that toughness, and grit, like you said, and talent. And it's rare that you find a player that is involved in every single play to the point where, like, you have to, whoever she's guarding, you have to go hide them someplace, hoping that she's not involved in that play. And she still manages to be involved in the play somehow, some way. So not only offensively can she get wherever she wants to go, get any shot she wants, but defensively, she probably causes more problems for your offense than any player in the country. I mean, you can deal with a shot blocker. You can deal with that. But you cannot deal with someone that every time you're dribbling the ball, you're more worried about where she is than who you're passing it to. I just love watching her, and I asked her after the game if she was old enough to go pro, and she said, "No, I want one more shot of you guys." So,
at least one more shot at you. Play in the regular season, maybe they play in the tournament again as well. And both Hannah Hidalgo and Niele Ivey in their post-game press conferences were sort of asked about next year, and we'll hear some of those comments in a minute. But they referred to next season, so like officially, unofficial, for those wondering what's going on with Hannah, it's that she plans to be at Notre Dame next year is the quick answer to that one.
I mean, I've never heard Geno speak so glowingly about about the opposition. You know what I mean?
I know.
And, I mean, in this day of NIL, I mean, I would be remiss if I was Geno not to try and give her a call and be like, "Hey, I got $1 million right here for you."
She's gonna have offers.
You know what I mean?
Offers. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
You don't do yourself you do yourself a disservice if you go bad mouthing players and things like that, because you just never know when it could work out to your advantage. Not saying that was what was happening, but he spoke glowingly about her, and he's right, obviously, up and down everything he said. But go ahead. I was
going to say to the points he was talking about of how you have to approach her when you have the basketball. I think the other, and there was a point where he talked about it, another point in the press conference where they didn't initiate their offense if Hannah Hidalgo was guarding the person, they initiated their offense from someone other than whoever Hannah Hidalgo was guarding. That's where, that's where their offense started. If AZ Fudd had the basketball and that's who Hidalgo was guarding, that's not the person who was going to, initiate the offense. They made sure to, negate as much as possible Hannah Hidalgo's impact. That's why she only had 3 steals yesterday. Well, while she had, I think it was 26 in the first 3 games combined. There's a big difference. They did a really good job of avoiding her as much as possible defensively, especially when they were in the half court, and they obviously smothered her at the other end of the floor, every time she touched the basketball at the offensive end of the floor for Notre Dame.
She still ended up with 22. So, I mean,
Yeah.
She finds ways to the basket. She finds ways to create her shot. I mean, she does everything that she needs to do. And again, she just didn't have the help that she needed in this particular game. But you can't say that she didn't do what she needed to do. You know what I mean? And it's tough because she needed somebody else to step up, not only just for the good of the team, but to take some of the pressure off of her.
Yeah, and look, like Ayanna Moore did not have a good weekend shooting the ball, and I've seen some negative stuff directed at her. She was their best 3-point shooter all season long. Like she had a bad weekend. Unfortunately, it happens from time to time. She had a couple stretches in the middle of the season where it happened as well. Unfortunately, it happened at the end of the season. They were able to beat her old team, Vanderbilt, on Friday. They weren't able to beat UConn, and it's obviously not all on her. But again, she shot 40% from the behind the 3-point line most of the season, and she was their top volume 3-point shooter. So like you can't point a finger there because they're not even going to be where they were if you didn't have her with the way she makes teams space the floor with the 3-point shooting that she had all year.
Yep, no doubt. So Hannah needed the help. She didn't get the help for a myriad of reasons, and it just is what it is. But man, watching Geno on the sideline is interesting because obviously I've been following women's basketball for 20 plus years, and all the things, and obviously he's been involved for 20 plus years, and he looks a lot older now.
He does.
There was a point in I want to say it was the Notre Dame game. It might have been another one. He kind of looked like Shooter from Hoosiers, which isn't really a compliment, obviously.
Trying to see where you're going with this.
He just kind of looked a little disheveled and a little older. Like that's what he looked like to me.
It was interesting because in the bowels of Dickey's Arena, going to I guess maybe I use that term considering what it smells like in Dickey's Arena. That's not what I'm alluding to. But like he was going to his post-game press conference, and I happened to be walking by as he was, but he had this whole entourage of it's like it's different with everyone, but it was like a few older women, probably a sports information. It was like just this like gaggle of we're following Geno to the press conference kind of thing. It was actually kind of funny.
I'm not surprised. Not surprised.
Sloppy Joe wants to know if Notre Dame beats UConn if Olivia Miles had stayed. My answer is no, because Hidalgo and Miles play the same position. Mm-hmm. And as much as going into not this year, but last year when they were together, that was the year after, of course, Olivia Miles was injured and Hidalgo had played a full year. Like they said all the right things. And we thought that they were going to be able to coexist. But when you look at how far this team got, one more step, and how this team got steadily better as the year went on with the roster that they had, which, as we've all conceded, from a talent standpoint, was not the same as last year's team, right? They didn't
even close.
They didn't have Sonia Citron, Olivia Miles, Maddie Westbeld, Leah Tu King, right there. They didn't have any of those 4 players on this year's team. But there was obviously more fracture, and there was also more who needs the spotlight and whose ego needed to be stroked and those kind of things. And that wasn't present this year. My answer is no. I mean, it would have been another talented player, but my answer is no, because of everything else that's gone with it. Part of what took getting there is what Niele Ivey talked about all the time, is the cohesiveness of the team and everybody buying into not just Niele Ivey's message, but buying into each other and figuring out the fire that they had to, kind of put forth to get to where they were. And that was just never going to happen with Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo together. It just wasn't.
Yeah, I kept it real simple in the chat. I just said team chemistry wasn't good. Like that's the easiest way to. All the things you just said are 100% accurate because you're there, you see it. We all could see it while watching games, especially down the stretch, because it felt harmonious early and then it just went off the rails. It felt like late, and the team chemistry was just not good. And that's the difference between last year and this year. So much more talent on that team last year, so much more, top to bottom. And this year, they actually enjoyed playing with each other, and you could feel it, you could sense it. And that's why they did what they did. They beat two teams that they should not have beaten, on paper, that kind of a thing, and played UConn. I'm going to say they played UConn the closest that UConn has been played in quite some time, and that's because of who this team was. So. It's unfortunate that that's the way last year went, but that's last year and this is this year. And we want to celebrate what they were able to do this year. And
absolutely.
TCU plays tonight.
That's right.
So
if you South Carolina tonight, they've got their opportunity. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
So Niele Ivey, speaking of Hannah Hidalgo, asked after yesterday's game how Hidalgo can grow going into her senior year coming up next season.
I mean, I think she's still going to continue to grow with her leadership, and I think that was the biggest separator for her was her maturity. I think you're going to see her being even more poised, more composure. We're going to work on that this summer as far as, continuing to build that trust with a brand new team. But she knows what to do now. She's had a year under her belt of being that vocal leader for us. And so is KK, but for Hannah, she's had that year under her belt. So she knows what to say. She knows how to push her team. Like she mentioned, she learned how to connect and learn each and every person on and off the court. That was new for her. Before she was, she didn't get a chance to do that. I thought she learned how to connect with everybody. And that's just being young. So I think just having that year under her belt, being more mature, you're going to see a more poised Hannah. Early on, and I think her leadership is going to continue to shine. And basketball-wise, she's going to take care of the things that she needs to work on, and we'll look at analytics, things that we can help her with, develop-wise. But I think the maturity is going to be so early on next year that experience is really going to shine through for her next year.
And I think again, like when you go back to the Miles conversation, because of the fact that Miles was obviously the point guard, and then she gets hurt, and so Hannah's freshman year, she's got to come right in and be the point guard all year long. And then sophomore season, you've got the two of them together. Plus you've got Westbeld on that team and Sonia Citron, and Hidalgo's just a sophomore.
Yeah.
That's really hard for, a player in that position, as great as your talent might be, to be able to really grow as a leader. And with all of those other voices and talents gone, she obviously had to assume a lot of that this year. And, let's be honest, there were times, throughout, especially earlier in the season, where, you might see a side eye or just, that kind of, frustrated look on her face. And it's like, you could see her as the season went on, really growing into that role and sort of learning a little bit more, when you can kind of pat your teammate on the back and, kind of, it's okay, and kind of realize those, different things. And, ultimately, I think that it all came together pretty well. So I think this was a great first step for her, because as they've said, she's going to have to do it all over again next year. And you're going to have a lot younger group coming in as well. Very talented, but young coming in, obviously, with all those freshmen.
Well, I think she's going to have to be a different kind of leader next year. You know what I mean? And I think that's okay. That's good for her growth as a leader, as a person, as a teammate, and all of those kinds of different things, because, then the following year, she's going to be the rookie wherever she ends up going. And so, being a leader of a younger group is going to test her leadership abilities and all of that. And I think that's the next step of her maturity level as a teammate and as a leader. So I think it's going to be great.
That's absolutely right. And DPG80 says the departure of Miles gave Hidalgo the space to become the leader this team needed. I think that was a big,
I think that's
again, you didn't have that counterpart who was sort of vying for that space.
Right.
Like an example I can give is this again, goes back to the old Palminary baseball days, but there were a handful of guys who are all sort of like Maneri guys, and they were all sort of like vying for, like the approval and attention and stuff like that. And it didn't always lead to cohesiveness on or off either on the field or in the locker room, because, you've got sort of, not that they were, any of them bad guys. They were all good guys in their own right, but they were sort of vying for that sort of top tier spot. And, again, I Olivia went and did her thing, and Hannah has done her thing here. They both got their own space, and they both got to do it. So,
yep, agreed.
Again, Coach Vic asking, he must have jumped in late. We were talking earlier. KK Bransford said she is coming back, and again, that'll be another good leadership piece for this team as well. With KK coming back, both leadership and the cohesion. We saw, we've talked all about what a great glue player Bransford has been this year, and to have her and Hidalgo, those are two really important pieces. I do expect them to go out and look for a post player. They're going to need to add a veteran post player to the roster for next year. At least one. I'll be curious, to see, how much more maybe they do along those lines. And then Tommy was asking about what are the names, positions, and rankings for the
There we go.
Incoming class. Funny you should ask that, Tommy. Here's what they've got. 6'3" power forward JC Ivey from the state of Texas. Now, depending on whose rankings you look, that's always it somewhat subjective, I guess. Is that the best way?
Oh, it's 100% subjective. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
But JC Ivey ranked as the number 12 overall player in the nation. Bella Ragone is a forward as well, 6'2". Ragone from the state of Georgia is ranked as the number 24 player in the nation. Amari Biles, another forward at 6'2", and Biles is the number 22 player in the nation. Isabella Sanga is an interesting one. She is 6'3" from Fort Lauderdale. She's ranked number 78. I don't know if you've heard about her. She's going to play both volleyball and basketball.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's going to be something different. So another player with some size, and she'll have some athleticism as well, but she'll be two sports, and kind of curious to see how all that goes. Yeah. And then you've got Jenica Lewis, the most recent commit from the state of Iowa, and I don't have her ranking. I know she is, like top 20-ish, somewhere around there, but she is a guard, 5'10", so shooting guard. So, and then you've got Leah Macy, who obviously didn't play this year,
right?
Who I think was ranked, in the top 20 or 30 in last year's class. So there's going to be a ton of talent coming in. A lot of them are freshmen. I don't know how much you can say, well, they're freshmen, so you're not going to expect anything. I think at least 3 of these players are going to be very significant contributors, though, for Notre Dame next year.
Nice.
And then again, they'll go out. They'll be active in the transfer portal. I expect them to go out and get a big next year with some experience. That's it's a little bit. It's a premium. That's a premium position. So I'll be curious to see exactly how that goes in terms of transfer portal recruiting with Pat Garrity here for a full cycle now.
Oh, good point. Good point. I still think they need one for men and women, but that's just me. I'm not the one spending the money.
Joe says they need to go out and fight a 6'5" European from the old Iron Block. I mean,
it's very specific.
Wouldn't hurt.
I don't disagree.
I know. One more comment from Niele Ivey, I think, probably before we wrap up this first hour of the show and talk a little bit more football in the second hour. For the second straight year, well, this kind of plays into what we were just talking about. They are going to have a completely different looking roster. They're going to have this ultra talented incoming freshman class mixed in with some veterans. And Niele Ivey was kind of asked about how you use the experience of this year, getting to the Elite Eight and building off that, while at the same time you do lose so much and you're replacing so much heading toward next year.
I mean, having Leah Macy, she got a chance to watch this. So that's going to help, and have, a really great freshman class that's coming in that wants to contribute. They're ready. They're hungry. They're all winners. They've all won at the highest level where they are right now. So I know they'll come in and make an immediate impact for us. I'm going to rely on them early, no matter if they're freshmen or not. And then, you're having great leadership coming back. That's going to help mold them, teach them what to do early. I think that's the excitement that we have. Our future is really bright. And I know that class was handpicked for me. God handpicked that freshman class. I'm grateful for them. And I just think having that mesh of toughness, experience now, getting to this level, knowing what it takes. I know that our leaders are going to do a great job of getting them on board and helping them make that immediate impact right away with us.
I don't know, Vince. What do you think?
I think that she's absolutely right, because she does have to be careful the way she answers that question, because the roster is going to change over. But it's changing over for the better. Like some of the people that were on the roster this year I don't want to diminish their role on the rosters. I don't want this to come off wrong. They were kind of placeholders to get to next year. I mean, to a degree. Now look, they still went to the Elite Eight. That's the
I know
best
what you're
8
saying.
teams in the country.
You
know, so I don't want to diminish that, but eyes are looking forward to what is coming at Notre Dame as well, which I think people can be very excited about, because you and I have talked about it, and Jesse and I talked about it. This is the best coaching job that Niele Ivey has done since she's been at Notre Dame as the head coach. And if she can take that and what she was able to do this year with the roster that she had this year, and roll it over to next year and the year after that, it's like, wow, the sky's kind of the limit here.
I mean, you should be able to pitch to a post player, for example, as you go out in the transfer portal and say, we have Hannah Hidalgo and all this talent, all these other talented players coming in. We can win a national championship with you.
Yes.
And that's the recruiting pitch.
Absolutely.
Right there. Look how far we got this year. We've got a Hannah Hidalgo coming back. We can win a national championship with you. And as DP says, Leah is 6'2". And that's going to be a big difference in the roster. Like if you heard me go through all those heights before, Vince, there's like one player among those freshmen who's under 6 foot tall, and she's 5'10", which is, about roughly, KK Bransford, a little bit taller than Hidalgo, for example. But all these other players are in the Cass Prosper range, whereas Notre Dame was one of the smaller teams in the country this year. They had 3 players on the roster who are healthy this year, who could go out there, who were over 6 feet tall. They're going to have a roster full of them next year with these players coming in.
It's going to be a new look for Notre Dame. I mean, you're going to have to get to know some new players, obviously, but a lot of young players, a lot of talent. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what this team is able to do. And like I said, if Niele just continues doing what she's doing with the maturation process of her as a head coach, I think that this is going to be a very enticing team to come play for in the future.
Absolutely.
And the present.
Yep. I forgot that I'd been talking about I was going to play this cut from Hidalgo, and I completely forgot about it. But she was asked about how everything sets up for next year as well.
Yeah, I think it gives us motivation. It'll be a different roster than it was this year, completely different again. But we finally got over that hump, and we didn't do that for 2 years, the first 2 years that I've been here. So to be able to do that with this team when nobody thought we was going to get past the second round, first and foremost, it's a testament to the God we serve, and he's able to open doors that no man can close. And I'll constantly say that, but we know that the people coming in next year, they're going to have to raise their level, because we know what it feels like to get to the Elite Eight, and now we're going to have to get over that hump the same way we felt with getting to the Sweet 16 2-3 times and just wanting to get over that hump. So everybody's going to have to raise their level of intensity.
So again, like nobody came out and asked Hannah Hidalgo, are you back at Notre Dame next year? But she fielded.
I mean, the way she's answering those
answers,
questions,
and she answered questions similarly to that. Like it pretty much lays out what her plans are for next year.
It was a lot of we, not they. You know what I mean? Like if you're leaving, it's going to be they're going to have to step up next year. Blah blah blah. It was we, which I that's great. That's awesome.
Yes, exactly. So. Again, it's another big leadership role for her, and KK Bransford will be there as well. And Coach Vic is asking, Hassan Prosper, we've said this a couple times, and I know there's a tune-in, tune-out factor. Just as we wrap up this first hour, Kassan Prosper has not announced what she is doing next year yet. She's going to announce that on her own time. And so when she announces that, she'll announce that. That's up to her to announce it. She did say to the media after the game yesterday that she's made her decision. She just hasn't announced it publicly, and that's going to be coming very soon. So you just have to wait and be patient. Right.
I'll just go with the double fingers crossed.
Everyone can cross their fingers.
Yes, as a Notre Dame women's basketball fan, I hope she comes back.
Irish Eyes asked if Kelly Radigan is back. I do not know the specific answer to that. She is obviously a hometown girl, played for South Bend St. Joe, and she played the first 3 years of her career at Loyola, Maryland, before transferring back and joining Niele Ivey's team. And her dad is one of the team physicians over there at Notre Dame. So I don't know if just the draw of being on the team and being a part of this whole thing is sort of how she wants to end her career or not, or if she would consider maybe going someplace else where she'd have an opportunity, to play full time, like she was at Loyola, Maryland.
I mean, she was a great glue piece to the team. Obviously, didn't get a lot of playing time, and
really good attitude, really good chemistry person. Like kept people.
Probably great to work with her dad, and put on the Notre Dame uniform like her dad did in football. And I mean, that's a dream come true living around here, obviously. And so, depends on what she wants to do. Is she going to be able to get her Notre Dame degree? I think that's a part. I would think that would be part of it. So like then grad transfer someplace else. I think she's listed as a junior. So, I guess we'll wait and see. But she's a good person to have on your team. Even if she may be buried on the depth chart just a little bit.
Right. Exactly. All right. But a big season for Notre Dame women's basketball, culminating in the Elite Eight, even if they lost to their rival UConn. Again, like you play to win the game. I think we all know that. But from where they came in the middle of January, when they were just pummeled, the worst loss that Notre Dame has ever had to UConn, 38 points in January in stores, to what we saw yesterday. Again, the scoreboard ended up being a little bit lopsided, but Notre Dame
wasn't 40.
Notre Dame played with them throughout the game.
Absolutely.
It separated a little bit at the end.
Look, Geno's been bitten by Notre Dame in the past. He was going to have his team prepared to play Notre Dame. I mean, I think they threw up a graphic on the TV version. He's 3-5 against 4-5 now against Notre Dame in the tournament. So he wasn't going to take Notre Dame lightly, regardless of what happened during the regular season. Mm-hmm. And he didn't. I mean, UConn came to play. It's just Notre Dame played them well, and they limited them with some opportunities and things like that. And so, UConn came to play. There's no doubt about that.
Played hard, played physical, played all 40 minutes, played right down to the wire, diving for, doing all the things that you want them to do. They matched their physicality much better than the first time. But again, you look at the kind of body types that UConn has compared to, what's on the roster at Notre Dame, and there was a big difference there. But as Hannah Hidalgo and Niele Ivey said, step forward. They got to the Elite Eight, and now it's on them to see if they can push it even farther next year. We've got Rapid Fire coming up in hour number 2, as we've got some Notre Dame football talk and some other conversation. We'll actually hear more from Geno Auriemma in Rapid Fire as well. That is all coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We roll into the second hour of the show. I'm Sean Stiers, joined by Vince D'Addario, and yes, he's here, Bobby Hensley, in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
Vince, how are you? Why are you shaking your head already?
Because once again, surprised by your presence. I don't know why every Monday it takes me by surprise, but it does.
You know what's funnier about this? At the top of rapid fire, in the top rapid fire question, I think I said, yeah, I have a question for you guys, plural.
That's a pretty
Plural, Vince.
You
yeah,
can also see the emails on the thread.
you guys give me a lot of credit, number one. And number two, the email that was sent to me was only to me. Just gonna throw that out because I'm looking right at it. But
That's true. I send Vince a separate email because it's got the first part of the show on there as well. So,
but it does say guys, but let's be honest, I am not looking that closely.
well, and you typically think about Vince. So
100%.
there's
Take
that.
care, number one.
So, Vince, I didn't get to see you last week because I was on Tuesday because we didn't have a show.
Right. I know.
I wanted to ask you,
Okay.
how many brackets do you fill out? Because I feel like you're okay.
I'm a one bracket guy. I cannot
Bracket
keep
of
more.
integrity.
I cannot keep multiple brackets in my brain. And you don't have to, obviously. You can use the apps and all those kinds of things. I fill out one bracket and then I enter multiple pools. That's what I do.
With the exact same bracket.
Exact same bracket. Yep.
Because
I live and die with my picks, Bobby. Like this, I can't change the picks. Like that seems like waffling to me.
If you have 6 brackets and 6 pools, at least one of them probably hits pretty good, and you can brag about that one.
No, that's not how I roll. Either you do a good job on the one that you do, or you do a poor job. And this year I did a poor job. So, it is what it is.
I'm annoyed. I only do one as well. I'm shocked to hear that you do one. But I thought that I had an okay bracket, and it's just so bad. I mean,
mine was awful.
Yeah, it's busted.
Mine is awful. I don't know that I have I have one Final Four team. One.
Mine was doing okay, and then Duke lost yesterday. So.
Yeah, that was my godsend.
That's mine too. I had UConn.
Who do you guys have winning it all?
Well, I had Purdue. So there you go.
Purdue winning it all?
I went crazy this year. Yeah.
Did go.
Well, that's why your bracket busted.
Well, and that's
UConn winning it all.
Okay. So you still have a chance, is what you're saying.
No, all the other picks were so bad that still buried in my pool.
Yeah, but if you pick the tournament, you pick the winner, like you can at least brag about that. Like, 1 out of 68. Good job.
Yeah. My women's bracket is doing really well.
Is it?
Yeah. I also picked UConn there.
Well, my women's bracket is doing far better than my men's bracket, but I'm still like 10th. You know what I mean? Because I did have an upset or two, which is probably, I think I had 3 number ones in the Final Four as opposed to just all 4 of them, which is usually kind of what happens. But
that's always the thing, as I say, it's like there's one upset somewhere and you got to pick it.
Wow.
And whoever picks that one upset that keeps going, they're the one that wins the pool every year.
It's very philosophical, Bobby. Typically, it's the one who picks the winner of the whole thing, regardless of what the other upset is.
Well, that's it, too.
The key is not having your winner get knocked out early.
Well,
whoever your winner happens to be.
But my women's bracket, my whole pool has UConn winning. So even if your team wins it all, you need to have something along the way to give you bonus points.
Yep. I had Notre Dame women going to the Elite Eight. I at least picked that bracket
too.
Right. So we did that. We all did that very well then.
Nailed that one. I felt very confident that was going to happen. And it did. And I don't know if I should have been confident, but I was. And there was no angst for me in any of those games leading up to the UConn game. I felt very confident Notre Dame was going to win those games.
And it was kind of crazy, right? Because like even being on the road in Columbus, it's like, well, I still think they're going to come out of that region. And then Vanderbilt as a 2 feels like a weak 2. They can probably.
I tell you what, I had somebody tell me, I don't know about you, but I was very confident, even after they got behind 11-0 against Ohio State, that they were going to win. I was like,
well,
I don't know if I shared that sentiment sitting there that watching.
Yeah,
but
I definitely,
yeah.
I could have repicked. Yeah, maybe.
Luckily, I tuned in when they were down like 14-11 or something like that. So I had missed like the 11-0 part. And right when I tuned in is when they went on kind of that run. So I was obviously feeling good at that point. Yeah.
By the way, on the subject of this, we were talking about Hassan Prosper at the end of the last hour. Kevin Park says, if Prosper stays, do they still go to the portal? My answer is yes, because they want, out of the transfer portal, they want a true post player type, like a try to figure out, I'm not that they're going to go get a Sarah Strong, for example, because obviously she's a player of the year candidate, or even, like a Sarah Williams, who also starts for UConn. Just a big 6'3", 6'4" type body who can play some defense in the middle of that and let a bunch of athletic others run around and do stuff around them. So,
well, it's like, you talked to me plenty of times off the show, but they have such a good class coming in of recruits, and the team is stacked next year.
Yeah.
So they just need a big to be able to facilitate and get some rebounds, I think.
There you go.
Well, that's your words, not mine.
Okay. Well, I've got a tipping question for you guys.
Yes.
Before we really get deep into,
I'm passionate about this. Let's go.
All right. I'm curious to, I think I know where Vince is going to go with this, but I mean, pretty much everywhere you go these days, you go out, you get your coffee, you get your food, whatever, you scan your card and they spin that thing around and it's like, how much, do you want to leave a tip? Now you don't have to leave a tip, but they give you the options like 15%, 20%, 25%. They show you what it is, or you can leave a custom tip or whatever. They're obviously, like there's no one actually coming out doing the service to the table, no waiter, no waitress involved. You're going to the counter. Now I'll say, I typically, if it's like a $5 cup of coffee or whatever, the tip is going to come out to like 80 cents to $1. I can afford it. I'll just throw it on there. It doesn't bother me that much. I did just, have an experience where, I didn't leave the tip and I got a kind of a side eye from the person because I feel like they kind of expect it nowadays. But Vince, you've worked in the service industry.
I have. Diligently.
You're also one of the tightest people I know.
Correct.
So your stance on this is
it's a badge of honor for me, by the way. I that's not an insult. I don't look at it that way. If people are wondering, so when I go to a restaurant and we are being served by a server, I am an automatic 20%, if not higher, if I'm super but I will never go below 20% ever.
Okay.
So that is a guarantee every time. I've had to teach my in-laws how to tip.
When it's actually a server, you'll never go below, because you've been there, as have I. Like I was a bartender / waiter in college as well, so I've been there as well.
So I always tip when it comes to that kind of thing. If it's a buffet where like they're just like bringing you drinks and clearing the table, it's 10%.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Because they're still doing something. They're providing.
They're still doing something.
Yeah,
correct. So I'm a 10% guy in that regard. There's less buffets out there now than there ever used to be. But like like Easter and like things like that. If you go to like a nice whatever, so it's 10% there for me. Anywhere else, you get nothing. I don't leave any other tips, and I'll look you right in the dang eye, and I will hit no tip, and then I'll spin it right back around so that they see it.
Now, what's the difference between those people who just happen to be working behind the counter and the waiter or waitress? I assume they're making like the same hourly.
They are not making the same hourly wage. You make $2.14 an hour as a server.
Okay.
So you are not making the same wage. So they count on tips.
You're relying heavily on the tips is what you're saying.
Correct.
Now here's a difference. And this is, we were having a conversation on a road trip here recently. Like what, like if you are the waiter or waitress at a diner, where the food you assume is going to be cheaper, like lower priced, right?
Sure.
Versus a high-end steakhouse.
Right.
Okay. You're doing the same work, but because the steakhouse has higher prices, you're expected to tip more. Should there be a standard?
So here's the difference. Here's the difference. And I know you know this. If you're working at a diner, you've got 8-9 tables that you're rocking and you're just boom, 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 boom. And people aren't camped out at diners generally. It's in, it's out. You're getting your meal. You're out of there. Fine dining, you're there longer, number one. And number two, there are less tables in your section because they want you to give better service for that fine dining experience. So let's say you're at a fine dining restaurant, that server may have 3 tables total. Like that's it. You get 3 tables. You're at a diner, you're doing 8 or 9. I'm not saying you're going to make the same amount, but it's a different expectation. It's a different experience, I guess I would say. And if you can't afford to eat at a fine dining restaurant and tip appropriately, then maybe you should stay home and get a frozen meal.
That I agree with.
It's like if you have a Ferrari and you can't afford the insurance, why'd you buy the Ferrari?
I mean, yeah, 100%. So,
Well, my question to you, because I'll tip not for coffee. It's like, I don't know. I feel weird about doing that. I have a membership to a coffee place. So I grab my own cup. I go fill up my own coffee. I put my own creamer in.
That's no tip there. You're doing all the work.
Why would I tip? I
I
can
agree.
tip myself, I guess. But how about when you get food to go? Like you get, you order it online or you go pick it up.
Okay.
Like, how do you feel about tipping that? Because that's where I think a more controversial tipping point is.
So here's where I'm at with that. So if you're going to a restaurant where you would normally sit down, okay, like let's say like a Bonefish Grill, for example, because I used to work there. All right. I know what it takes because it's the young gals up front who are doing the preparation of that meal. They're putting it together. They're, making sure all the things are in there. I'll throw a little bit their way. It's not gonna be 20%, but there'll be a little bit of something there for them because they did go out of their way to put that together and get it out to you. So I'll give them a little something, not a lot, but a little something just to show my appreciation.
I guess my last one was Applebee's, and I walked in to pick it up myself. So do I tip? Because if I tip, I would hope it would go to the cook because everything else.
Tips ain't going to no cook. That does not happen.
Yeah. See, and that's an issue though as well. The cooks are doing the hard work and they're not getting anything out of it unless you happen to be at a place where everybody splits the tips.
Yeah.
That back of the house doesn't get tips. Like that's just not how it works because they get paid a livable wage back there as opposed to the front of the house. They get paid $2 an hour.
Oh, I like how Vince calls it a livable wage for the guy back in the kitchen.
It's more than $2.14.
A more livable wage. Okay.
Yes,
closer to a livable.
Tommy wants to know if you pre-tip DoorDash. I doubt Vince is doing DoorDash because that costs too much.
Oh, DoorDash is a scam.
Well,
oh my goodness.
I don't feel like getting off the couch and I'm willing to pay for it though. So
that's fair.
Yes. My answer is yes, but I am a little torn on it because it's like I feel like I leave a pretty good tip, but at the same time, I'm pre-tipping. So I'm tipping without knowing the actual service that I'm going to get before, anything gets there. So
that is true. And I have so here's my DoorDash story. So when I was out for my surgery, the people at my other job kind of pooled some money together and got us a big gift card to DoorDash. So that was my first experience with DoorDash. And when you're getting DoorDash for 7 people, first of all, it's ridiculously expensive.
It is.
And you're rare are they going to get the order correct also. That's the other piece of it.
Or
to get all 7 orders.
Is the driver doing extra work that, because
no, they're just carrying a bigger bag.
Exactly. But because it costs more,
yes,
percentage-wise, you're tipping a higher.
You are. Yeah. And I've also noticed that the more you tip on the DoorDash ahead of time, the quicker you are to get somebody to bring you your food too.
And that's why I do it.
Yeah. I have noticed that. So I have used DoorDash, but I have never used my own money.
I did a DoorDash a couple weeks ago at my hotel when we were on the road someplace. And I did the pre-tip.
Yep.
And on the instructions, it said they weren't supposed to bring the food to my room. But I think because I did the pre-tip, they were supposed to leave it in the lobby. They actually brought it up to my room. So I think that's why I got the front door service.
Well,
nice.
Yeah.
2 things. One, you were saying earlier, if I go to the same place often, I will tip really high because I appreciate
they know who you are.
Well, yeah.
Like, look, man, they know who you are. They're like, oh, here comes that no tipper guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
So I always over tip the places I go to. There's a couple local places I go to, and
that's fair.
They know I'll tip well, and they're always kind. But then also, like Sean said, when I was on vacation a couple weeks ago, and I did the same thing Sean did. I put my room number on the just in case, and it came right to my room. And when I'm out of town, I don't know where I'm going. I can just look on an app, pick the food. Yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, but I appreciate that. I don't have to worry about it, and I'll tip high because that's what I'm tipping for, is that I don't have to deal with anything in that town that I'm not that I don't understand or don't know where the food's even coming from.
I will say one more thing that I do tip for on a regular basis is the haircut. Always tip on the haircut. I don't know why. That's how I grew up. I was told to tip on a haircut, so I tip on a haircut every single time. So
you ever tip on YouTube chats for like Irish Breakdown or anything? Because we can tip on this.
You can, and no, I don't. I receive those.
Oh. I guess those on the days I'm not working, huh?
We've talked a whole segment.
Yeah, you lit this one up.
And for the 20th person to come in asking about Kassan Prosper in today's show.
You're right.
She has not announced what she is doing yet. She said after yesterday's game that she has made her decision on what she's going to do, but she is going to announce it on her own time. So TBD.
Sean, do you tip your barber?
I used to.
Oh,
I
you don't have one anymore. Yeah. Do you tip your barber, Bobby? Or do you not have one?
Yeah, no, my girlfriend cuts my hair and she does a lovely job. And,
do you tip her?
I appreciate her. I get her dinner every time she does it.
Okay.
So there you go. That's a tip.
And I tip on the dinner.
If I bought my barber dinner, people would start asking questions.
Wow.
Sports topics coming up next in rapid fire. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. It's Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com and Rapid Fire coming to you live on 96.1 FM.
Yeah.
As well as 960 AM.
Yeah.
Made the flip to 96. Did you even know, Bobby? If you hadn't looked at the sign behind me, would you know that we were on 96.1 now?
Yeah, because you told me last week.
You didn't remember.
Yeah, I did.
All right.
Actually, when Sean talks, I listen.
Uh-huh.
When Vince talks,
I mean, that's fair.
that's,
Sean has way better things to talk about.
I don't know.
I think we sound better on the FM, don't you?
Oh my gosh. It's not even close.
Let's talk some sports. What do you-
Okay. I guess if we have to. I mean, we can talk. We do another segment on tipping if you want.
I know.
Yeah, I don't think we're done, but
Man.
we just started the barber one, and now that's going everywhere.
I know. I think we probably could have just gone the whole hour on that one topic if we wanted.
We could have too.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're kind of getting to that dead sports zone, aren't we?
Save it for another time because we're here.
Yeah.
I texted you guys in the break. Did you get it? Because I had to for all those DoorDash people out there, I had to re-download the app because it goes away after 30 days if you don't use it.
Really?
So I re-downloaded it. Well, it's a setting you can have on your phone to like save storage or whatever. So I re-downloaded it. I still have $38 on my gift card. Looks
Wow.
like somebody's getting DoorDash for lunch.
Better DoorDash something.
That's like a Taco Bell $5 box once you add fees, tips.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I also, by the way, because I am a penny pincher, I signed up for the free 60 days of like the DoorDash Elite or whatever it is. So that way they would take away the fees for that 30 days while I was out for my surgery, and spent pretty much all my gift card at that point trying to save money, and then canceled it at the 30 days.
Did you set an alarm to remind yourself?
100%. Put it on my I put it in the calendar. Yeah. Dude, I'm the king of free months for this and that and the other.
I mean, all the apps have pretty good deals on them if you don't want to eat healthy.
Okay, here we go. Notre Dame wide receiver Jaden Greathouse missed all but 4 games last season due to a hamstring injury. There was a lot of speculation about whether he would be back with the Irish this year, but he is back with the Irish this year, and he spoke with the media recently. Greathouse was asked if he was ever close to leaving Notre Dame this offseason, and here is his response to that.
I mean, I wouldn't say close is the right word. I feel like, one of the big goals for me is, leaving here with a degree, making sure that I get my degree from this university. And, the main thing that was on my mind was, just getting healthy and getting back on the field, just being able to want to have an opportunity to show what I can do. And so just completely focused with my rehab. Obviously, we made the decision to redshirt and hopefully get me back for the playoffs. But, Notre Dame's been my home the whole time, and I want to make sure that I get my degree here and finish what I started here. And so we're just ready to get back on the field.
Okay, so the majority of that response, very well thought out, well spoken, well explained, everything. This is the part that struck me, though.
I mean, I wouldn't say close is the right word.
What did you think about that?
Oh, that was absolutely the part that stuck out to me, too. And look, it's human nature, right? You're sitting in your dorm. You just got done with rehab, or your apartment, wherever he lives. You just got done with rehab, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I haven't played since X date. Wonder what else is out there.
Right.
And you look around a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he was ever like in negotiations with another school.
At least stuck the toe in the water maybe a little bit.
And you know what? I'm okay with that. That's human nature. Let's see what else is out there. And then you realize that maybe Notre Dame is the best spot for him and that kind of a thing. So I that doesn't bother me at all. This is at this day and age, like, see what else
he's
is
here.
out
So
there.
like anything
Right.
that happened before this is irrelevant
Right.
at this point, because he is still
Yeah,
here.
and he's not leaving.
There's
He
not a
can't
second
leave.
transfer portal window.
Yeah, he can't leave. He's here. So doesn't matter. Coach Vic says it doesn't sound promising.
I mean, technically he could leave, but he'd have to sit out a whole
Well,
year and then
he's
either
not-
that or
I
go
mean,
through courts or
yeah.
whatever else. But
Well, he probably was just thinking about if he could leave to find some place with cheaper DoorDash prices.
Seriously.
Maybe where he doesn't have to tip. No, I think that
Stay on target.
at the beginning, like everyone's saying that. I'm surprised that he said it that way, because you're right. Once he got in rhythm, and I know those kids are media coach, they know what to say, but the way that he started that, obviously it's going to make it sound weird. So I get it, but he obviously staying here. Where else are you going to get an education as good as Notre Dame, as he brought up twice in that soundbite for 30 seconds? I think it's just a sign of the times. Everyone's always looking. Any year you could lose.
Not only
your
is
whole
everyone
roster.
always looking, there are other parties who are always looking for the players. Like Chi-Town says, he had a bag offered. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
If the majority of guys who had any playing experience had different bags offered to
It's
him.
just kind of wild, because you used to worry about a guy going pro to make more money, and now it's about him going to a different college football program to make more money.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by a sign of the times. Anybody's going to get an offer.
Well, and the difference is Notre Dame actually is competitive in the NIL space in football, as opposed to men's basketball. So it's a different conversation that we're having. Like when guys are offered bags at Notre Dame for football, they're already getting a bag at Notre Dame for football, and it's negotiable, unlike other sports.
Fill in the blank. Speaking of which, it's blank that freshman forward Brady Kohler has announced he's returning to the Notre Dame men's basketball team next season.
Vince, you go first on this one.
Okay. Look, it's sad that you have to say that you're coming back. I'll just leave it at that. So my fill in the blank is it's sad. And then my comment about that is everybody's assuming everybody's leaving at this point, and so he has to announce that he's coming back, which
I know.
It's just a sad state of affairs.
Look, someone we know, and I'm not pointing fingers, but he said basically he expects almost everybody to hit the road last week.
He said there's only going to be he said there's only going to be a couple of scholarship players left. Well, that's one.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's one that we know of, right?
And his son is probably two. So
that's true. I
think those are the ones you can set in stone at this point now. And we'll see what the next couple of days / weeks hold.
I think it's I don't know, sad. It's both. It's sad that he has to announce he's coming back. So I'll use that word, because you shouldn't have to announce you're coming back, like Vince said. But for that program,
still here.
You take what you can get. Like at this point, right? That's how down it is right now. And I mean, we're long ways away. We only know 2 potential players on the team. So what's next year going to look like? At least they're going to have another guy on the court that has a scholarship.
Yeah, I mean, it's a first step if you're building a roster, obviously, like
that's where we're at.
I mean, that's the sad state of where it's at right now. Okay, well, like Vince said, there's 1, 2 with Braden Shrewsbury, because he is the coach's son, and then you've got another coach's son, and you've got a couple other strength coaches' sons coming in next year. So, okay, you got a few.
Sometimes when you get someone to say they're coming back, it's so that you can help recruit
or
add stuff.
Irish Eye says, is the freshman class coming? I'll remind you, Irish Eyes, the freshman class is composed of another Shrewsbury and 2 sons of the strength coach who was hired last year around the time that they committed. Man. So the not too great assumption is, yes, the incoming freshman class is here because they're all related to people who are on the staff.
And who are they going to bring with them? That's what I mean by announcing your class and the returners, the 1 or 2 that you have. They're not recruiting enough big names, and they can't pay the bag from other people. So at least you'll have a team.
Remains to be seen, but yes, they'll have They'll have beating hearts and jerseys. I don't know how much of a team it'll be, but hey, I'll hold out hope that it's going to be a good-looking situation, because the 2 best players on Notre Dame's roster right now are technically still on the roster. So until they say that they're not coming,
I would even say 3 are technically still on the roster.
Shrewsbury is your third?
Shrewsbury, or no, I would say, do you not consider Serta one of the top 3?
Oh, that's a good point. No, you're absolutely right. And he's still on the roster as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. So right now, things are looking up, but hopefully they don't look down here soon.
Technically, nobody else has announced they're going anywhere.
This is correct.
This
is correct.
Yeah. Irish Eye says get a few European guys. I mean, just look at Illinois. I mean, they've got half of Eastern Europe on that freaking team. They're in the Final Four. So,
I mean, that's the world we're living in. You can get enough guys just for 1 year, pay them well, and then you can make a run and then see what happens from there.
The key words that you just used were pay them well, and I think that remains to be seen.
You get what you pay for. Isn't that what they say?
Oh, and that's 100%.
Look, we've talked about this before. We've been talking about it for the last few weeks, and I think we were talking about it last week. And I was talking to Brian Driscoll, who of course runs IrishBreakdown.com, and I guess someone was listening and sent him this whole big email about it's not NIL, it's the coach, and this and this. Look, as we say it right now, where this specific thing is, it goes hand in hand, because if you're not good, which they're not by any subjective means, they're below 500. They're not good. They weren't even going to be good enough to make the NIT. They're not winning games, and they don't have much of an NIL budget. With those two teams together, and you've got good players on the roster, it's going to be hard to retain them if you're not going to also pay them anything when they can go, if you're going to pay them below market value and they can go out and get market value to above market value, depending on where they go, what's their incentive to stick around? Like, it all goes hand in hand. It's not just the money. It's also how you're doing as a team, because if you've got any promise, any hope as a team that you are building toward something, then maybe you get guys to overlook the monetary aspect a little bit, but you've got neither factor in your favor right now.
And look, Notre Dame obviously has a very strong degree and all of those kinds of things, but it also depends on what you want to do with your degree. There are plenty of professions out there. It doesn't matter what school you graduate from. I mean, let's be honest, like it just doesn't matter. And
most guys, if they had their choice, want to major in basketball anyway.
Exactly.
If you're good enough, you're not going to stay and finish your degree anyway. You're going to transfer and take that money and finish it wherever you go. So it's hard to find good players that want to stay for their full time to get that degree. I think you get a better shot at getting somebody that's a senior to transfer in for 1 year so they can finish their degree and say they got it from Notre Dame than stay all 4 years.
It's very difficult, because what are your future aspirations, right? Like, if somebody offered my kid a bunch of money to go to a different school, that would be some serious consideration. You know what I mean? Because he's not going to the NFL. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, well, this is your opportunity to make some money, put some money in the bank, maybe have a down payment on a house, that kind of a thing. Like, how can you beseech a kid for doing something along those lines, especially if where you're at, you're not winning? So I agree with you, Sean. Like, it's tough. It is very difficult, and there's a lot of different aspects that you have to weigh.
And if you don't win in enough time, there's a whole bunch of, is the coach going to stay? Who's going to recruit? Like, there's just so many things and reasons why people don't stay at the same school. But if I'm a senior at some mid-level school and I'm not going to go pro, to your point, I'm like, well, I could transfer to Notre Dame and then at least finish my degree there. Then I have that paper from there. But I don't know how many great athletes you're going to get for basketball that way, because you're not winning. It's not going to be fun. You're just going to have to forge through that senior year. Yeah, it right now, I mean, the whole program, I don't know why anyone would want to play. It's so frustrating to not be better.
When do you guys start this up? Are you going to address it?
I'd start it up. Irish Chi-Town says having to pay college players beyond a stipend for expenses beyond their scholarship is gross. Look, Irish, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're an older guy. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I just mean that I don't disagree with you, but that's not the world we're living in right now.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
His face ain't going back in the tube.
No, it's not. I mean, going to Notre Dame, you're getting pretty much $1 million worth of education for free. But then again, that's not enough these days with NIL and everything else. So I don't disagree with you, man. Was it Sean or Vince? One of you said they want to major in basketball.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's exactly what it is. And I'm not saying that on the top level that's ever been different. You want to major in basketball.
Sure.
But right now where it is, like you say, you can't put the toothpaste in the tube. majoring in basketball. All those terms are correct. There's no way you can fix it. It
and
already is what it is. And we can't change it.
I get what you're saying, Bobby. Obviously, not everyone gets to, but in the mind of so many of these guys, like even though they might only be a 3-star, so and I mean it's the right mentality to have on the one hand, but so many of them come in the door like thinking they're going to be the exception to the rule, whether or not that's realistic. And ultimately, that's the only way that you become the exception, is having that mindset. But it also obviously can leave a lot of guys disillusioned and disappointed in the long run as well.
For those of you listening on the radio, Irish Chi-Town is retired. He just said that. And so he's an old guy, and I'm an old guy at heart. So I'm with you on that one, man.
You are.
I didn't know you had a heart.
Wow.
Bobby's just coming at Vince now. Gosh. All right. UConn head coach Geno Auriemma had a viral moment during this past weekend, Sweet 16 and Elite 8 rounds in Fort Worth, Texas. Now, some background in case you don't follow how these tournaments are set up once you get to the Sweet 16. On the men's side, the regional rounds, Sweet 16, Elite 8, are played at 4 different sites across the country. So there are only 4 teams at each of those sites. And obviously you play it out. You've got 2 games, the winners play, and then the winner of that Elite 8 game gets to the Final Four. But on the women's side, there are only 2 different actual physical sites with 2 separate sets of regionals played at each site. So, for example, the Sweet 16 that Notre Dame was in, there were 4 teams and 2 games played on Friday in one regional. And then the next day, there was another regional with 4 teams and 2 games played in that same building in a separate regional. They are completely unrelated to each other. So that has led to, so basically you've got all those games taking place in the same facility, and it has led to some different logistical stuff. So here's what Geno Auriemma had to say about all that.
Do some numbers, okay? Write them down. 4 for 20, 4 for 22, 1 for 17, 5 for 18, 4 for 16, 7 for 26. That's the 3-point shooting yesterday across the country. How many arenas are we going to sell out with that bullshit? Now, maybe it's just a bad day shooting by everybody. These are all teams that average probably 30, over 30 for the season. Know what our time our shoot around was yesterday? 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:20, I think, for half an hour. Now this morning, I just saw Notre Dame leaving. So they have media this morning. Their practice time is tonight at 5:30. What did you have to ask them this morning that you didn't ask them last night? Or us? You know what time our practice time is? 6:30 tonight. So we had to get our kids up, come over here. You already knew who we were playing last night. But we can't get on the court. And neither can the other teams. Walls have media at 7:30, I think. Does anybody who makes these decisions ever ask the coaches and the players, hey, does this work? Do you guys do this during the regular season? Is this normal?
Okay, so again, that's Geno Auriemma sounding off about the 2 regional setup at the women's sites. And so, you know, again, Notre Dame played 1 of 2 games on Friday at Dickies Arena, and UConn and North Carolina played the other game. And so then the next day, because Notre Dame and UConn won, they had to come in for press conferences the next morning. Those press conferences all had to take place before the other regionals games were played in that arena. And because the other 2 games were going to go on in that same arena, Notre Dame and UConn could not get practice times. After showing up early in the morning for press conferences, they couldn't actually get practice times in the building they were going to play their Elite 8 in, you know, the day after that until later in the early evening, because you've got this logistical nightmare of all these teams needing the same building. So like Notre Dame, breakfast at 6:30 a.m. Saturday. I'm reading off the itinerary that they had after playing on Friday. 6:30 a.m. breakfast, 7:45 film. The bus departs at 8 a.m. Get to the arena at 8:15. Then the players talk to ESPN at 8:30. Then there's an open locker room where media gets to come into the locker room at 8:45. And then at 8:50, there's a Niele Ivey press conference. Also at 8:50, a player press conference. Then Niele Ivey talks with Westwood 1. And then at 9:30, they actually leave to go to a high school gym because, again, they can't get an actual shoot-around in that building because you've got other teams preparing to play on that same day after all these press and UConn basically had to do the same thing. So what do you guys think of this setup of all these teams in one building over the course of 4 days?
Well, I understand why they're doing it. I get it from like a fan attendance and that kind of stuff. They're trying to maximize butts and seats and things like that. So I get it, but it doesn't work from a coaching and playing standpoint. It just doesn't. And so it's not good for the product that you're going to have on the court. And obviously they have prioritized butts and seats over product on the court, but it's not like football where when you go down to the bowl game and you practice at a high school and things like a football field's a football field. Like that's different than basketball because you're in an arena where the sight lines are different. Everything about it is different. You need to be able to practice on that court. Even in high school for sectionals, they allow the teams to come in for a practice at that school that hosts the sectional. They at least get to have one practice on that floor before they play in the game. Why would you not have that opportunity in an Elite Eight and a Sweet 16 situation for a high-level women's basketball is beyond me.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to if you can get 8,000 people to 10 to sit and watch those games, if you had 4 venues that could get 4,000, you're going to get more people overall. So I'm not even sure that
and that's what, do they really think that people are going to shell out all the money that they're asking them to shell out and go to all 4 days at these 2 different regionals in the same spot? I mean, that's a lot of money that you're asking people to shell out if they're not, like a diehard fan of one of these teams. And if you are a diehard fan of one of the teams, then you're you're theoretically thinking that they're going to spend money to go watch teams that they don't even care about.
Well, I think women's basketball at the college level has gotten significantly more popular in the last 4 to 5 years. And I think this model came just before they started to have their boom. So
you're right about that. Because this model, they switched it over, I think, in 2023, which is right around the time of the start of the rise of Caitlin Clark, basically.
And I'd like you to write these numbers down: 4 for 12, 6 for 17. So both of them shot better at 3-pointers than they did the round before.
In game 2, they did shoot better.
Because they had a game under their belts where they actually got to be on the court.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at. It's like, well, but they're more comfortable. They've been in the town. They've been in the locker room. They know where they're going. They know what
smelled the poop.
Like, how the lights work, everything that could bother them. But I just think that the game has evolved and grown a little bit. And I don't think that they're keeping up with it. I don't think you need just 2 venues. I think they'd be okay having the quadrants, and you can spread them out around the country, which would help too.
Well, and I think that part of this is because you remember like when they did the bubble during COVID and they found out they could consolidate things and save some expenses. I think that kind of got the ball rolling on this. Let's be honest, like every business figured out, like where they could trim some fat during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And they decided to go with things, with different things afterwards. And I think we've all probably experienced some of that in our different livelihoods. But, like another thing that he's not even talking about that also, like during the NCAA tournament, the NCAA sells sponsorship rights to a specific video company. I think it's called DV Sport. And during the season, every team has a video coordinator. And the video coordinator typically sits as close to the bench as possible so that they can get, a feed of the game. And then the coach will say, like, and they've got their pads and stuff like that. And the coach will say, like when something happens, they'll turn around and say, I need a clip of that for halftime, and they're able to, like have video of some different things ready to look at in the locker room and stuff like that. Well, because a specific company is paying for the sponsorship, they're the only ones who are allowed to be right next to the bench. And the actual video coordinators, I'll tell you, the Notre Dame video coordinator sat in a room that was on in a different part of the gym during the games yesterday doing the actual video work. And from what I'm told, in Sacramento, they weren't even in the same building. They were in an adjacent building doing their work, the video coordinator. So, like, how screwed up is that? That's, because of a sold sponsorship, that's, the NCAA is putting teams at a disadvantage, based on things that they're used to having as part of their staff, access, with all this different technology during the season. They're putting them at a disadvantage when it comes to the biggest games of the tournament.
Well, fill in the blank. That's flawed. You shouldn't have to change your game day procedure in a tournament just because of the venue and the NCAA try to make more money.
If we want to get Sean really fired up, we can talk about placement of radio.
It's better during the NCAA tournament than the ACC tournament. I'll tell you.
All right.
I'll tell you that much. We did not have fans sitting in front of us. We were front row. That's like the one thing that I will say that the NCAA does a better job of accommodating the media during the tournament. I better knock on wood because you never know how that.
You never know.
But that's actually
I still can't believe they put you behind fans. That just wow.
Again, that was ACC tournament.
I know, but still, it's cost cutting and everything else.
Well, that's what
Find out what grinds my gears.
Dead
all right.
presidents. You can pay enough. You can sit in front of the media.
That's all the time we've got for today. We're going to wrap it up with that.
Thanks for the tips.
Enjoyed it as always. Good tips, Bobby. All right. For Vince and Bobby, I'm Sean Stiers. Lively in the YouTube chat tonight. We've got plenty of Notre Dame football we're going to talk about on tomorrow. So you got that to look forward to. We will talk to you then. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.